All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do the Peter Parker. No, it's not the Peter Parker. It's Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 62 from Marvel Comics. And yeah, this is one of those many one-shots they did back in the 80s. This is a book from 1982. And I must say, maybe I said that before, but my opinion is that the older books, 80s, 90s, has more of a real danger to that than modern comics. I'm not want to go into that modern comics debate anymore for now, but yeah, you probably know my position about modern comics. Anyway, let's dive in. So it seems that the Maggia, or that's how you say it, I believe, this criminal organization is hiring some people, and this guy called Goldbug says, "Hey, I want to work for you, right?" And but they say, "Well, we don't trust you because you don't have a good track record." And he says, "You need to do a job first, a test." And he says, "Well, do you want me to hit some crummy college science lab? Don't worry, the gold bug will deliver." Right. Meanwhile, it seems that the cops, I believe, rolling some gold into a security van. And I like this dialogue here. The next day, as an armored car disgorges its glittering cargo to a chorus of oohs and ahs from a crowd, smitten by the sight of this guilt fantasy and held at distance by the reality of police barricades and armed guards. It's been story by Bill Mantlo, Ed Hannigan, and Jim Mooney. I've read those guys before, have read work. Those guys work, but they are great. Anyway. But it seems that this is intentional because it seems that Peter Parker has, this is his experiment. And what I mean by that he is, according to his friends here on the campus, he made some what's the word I'm looking for? He made a theory, a research theory, and it seems that they loaned the Empire State University the gold for experimentation, and that experimentation is radiation-absorbing properties of precious metal. And these guys are Hopkins, Philip Chang, and Marcy. You remember these guys? Probably not, because these are, they were at the university. Peter Parker was still a young guy, right? But he is also a scientist, and this is more like a scientific experiment, and he wants to prove himself. But the dean, I believe that's the dean, or is the head of the biophysics department, Dr. Mark Sloan, he's not happy because Peter Parker is always late. Peter Parker hears that, and he says, "Well, I need to shoot photos for the Daily Bugle, otherwise I couldn't pay the medical expenses for Aunt May, right?" And Deborah is basically covering for him. Deborah Whitman has a crush on Peter, by the way. She's a good character. Anyway, so he's changing, and Peter Parker, Dr. Sloan is furious. This is your experiment. I go as fast as I can. How's things with your preppy boyfriend, Biff? Oh man, I remember Biff. Peter, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. But then Dr. Sloan comes in, right? And he says, Dr. Sloan's mad. He says, "Why are you always late? What could have been more important than this experiment?" And he says, "Well, web slinging, crime fighting, supporting the sick, on photojournalism." I says, "Nah, nothing, Dr. Sloan. I'm just having a hard time getting myself together." Right. Well, he says, "Well, get some more discipline." And so his friends are, happy to see him, but, also make jokes on his expense. But then Marcy coming, and these are just brilliant guys, right? They all have, genius level intellect, I guess. And I don't know what it is with Peter Parker, but he's a ladies' man. They probably like him because his intelligence, not of his looks. So Marcy is also into him, and I really like this panel. This is old school romance stuff, she's very sad about that she is, that he is hanging out with Marcy instead of Deborah. I like that, this old school romance. So and it's been established here as well. Peter, oh Peter, I start dating Biff Rifkin because he's kind and attentive, and you never seem to have time for me. But there's something about you that fills me with a longing I don't dare to express to you for fear that you only reject me. This is so cool. This is so romantic. I love that. You know? We don't see this stuff anymore. That people are just, innocent in love and have this old school romance. It's just all snarky and we don't need no man and all this BS. Why don't we have more, innocent women like or girls like Deborah Whitman, right? And she also thinks that it's the insecurity playing, because he thinks he is maybe not good enough for Peter because he's hanging all out with, people like Dr. Sloan and Marcy King. So I like that. This is some real stuff. I mean, people are insecure, especially when you are in school, although she is, not a student anymore. Anyway, Sloan says, I will personally supervise your first phase of your experiment. After that, you will be on your own. I expect no problems. Your research paper outlined the proper succession of steps to be taken. I expect you to adhere to your outline. I will, Dr. Sloan. Once we pass through these portals, scientific discipline could mean the difference between success and failure. Phew, Dr. Sloan is really coming down on me. I gotta forget about being Spider-Man for once and just be Peter Parker. Boy scientist. I like that. He's calling himself boy scientist. Right. So it seems that the computers has been programmed, right? They will irradiate the gold and monitor the metal's rate absorption. Numerous financial institutions, indeed, even the government itself, have expressed interest in the results of our experiments. I presume they wish to know what will happen to precious metals in the event of a nuclear disaster. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, Dr. Sloan. All right, so the gold is being bombarded with radiation. Meanwhile, we have Blue Beetle. I'm kidding. This is Gold Beetle's flying beetle, I guess. And it seems that Goldbug is also nervous and insecure because he uses a lot of expenses on his, obsession with gold. He's using gold costume, equipment gold, and he needs to taking off 80% of his, payment to Maggia, but he has no choice, right? It's his lifestyle. So he only has 20%. So he's using his ship's, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe scanning where the gold is, using his lasers, then it's coming down. Good, Mr. Parker, very good. That completes the first phase of your experimentation. The gold is now irradiated. The instruments will monitor the absorption and loss rate. You will monitor the instruments. That's a good sign because Dr. Sloan basically saying, I'm going out to eat and you're going to do this on your own because I trust you, right? And now it's now getting serious for Peter because he needs to prove himself that he is a genius, right? And get some credibility from the hand of the biophysics department. So Deborah is still here waiting for Peter, and she says, hey, what are you reading, Miss Whitman? Oh, Across the Frontiers. Heisenberg, huh? Not quite a layman's guide to physics. And he was expecting to her, reading some girly stuff. But then again, she says, he's right, Peter could read this book easily. But I haven't understood a word I've read. How can I ever relate to? I like this again. This girl is going the extra mile to, interest in other people's, in this case, Peter Parker's fields, hobbies, you name it, right? And then she says, I don't understand it, but I'm willing to do that so I could, maybe relate to him a little bit more. But then this is happening. Goldberg is crashing down, and we have some rent-a-cops here, and oh no. He says, well, my spider sense was tingling, but because of the suit, he couldn't just jump away. Ads. So he's using his gold gun, not to be mistaken by a Colt gun by, Mr. Freeze, or Captain Colt from DC Comics. Anyway, so it sprays a gold dust, which hardening upon contact, randoms then immobile. I gotta work fast. Hijack the gold before anyone else shows up. I can't afford to use my gold gun at every rent-a-cop on campus. Meanwhile, Peter, for the love of heaven, please be all right. But then, blasted, I didn't mean to kill that girl. I thought she was another rent-a-cop. Well, it's done now. I gotta grab the gold and get out of here. Uh-oh. And Peter realizes that he screwed up. She came here to help me, but I just lay here and let her fall victim to the gold bug. Why do I always fail the people who care for me? Why? Yeah. Anyway, so Goldbug uses some kind of another expensive technology. Instead of, getting those bars bar by bar, he's using some kind of a plastic and just hovering out of here. Peter using his strength to get out, but he needs to rescue the cops and Deborah, otherwise they will suffocate. But then he's also throwing a spider tracer to the Goldbug's flying machine. Time is running out. But how do I free them? Come on, Parker, you're a scientist. Use your head. Right, I need an acid solution that will melt through the gold but won't burn the skin beneath. Luckily, the chem lab is right next door. I must mix the acid solution correctly and quickly. I love the sweat on his face. I did it. They're still groggy, but they'll make it. So, Dr. Sloan comes in. He says, good heavens, Parker, the gold is insured, but it's highly radioactive, hot enough to kill anyone who handles it. We must notify the authorities. I call the police. So, Peter's being interrogated by the police, but he needs to get into a hurry, otherwise maybe part of the town will be irradiated or people will get killed because of the radiation. And then we are at a harbor, I guess, right? And then Goldbug is, obsessed with gold. It's beautiful. If it only take the place of food and drink and other lesser but necessary essentials of life. But it can't. It must be bartered. All right, Maggia has arrived. And yeah. And I mean, you can pause the video, but I also like these banter between these, criminals. It gives them some kind of a humanity, right? Instead of just goons to be taken out by Spider-Man. It's a little bit of personality, if you will, right? Meanwhile, there's a lot of goons from Maggia here. So Peter needs to, hide himself for now. Otherwise, it takes too long. More ads. So the Maggia are pleased. Very impressed, Goldbug. That is, of course, the gold is the genuine article. Don't take my word for it. Have it assayed. Macho is your expert in that field. Ah, yes. I might just handle a bar or two. Do that, and you will never live to regret. Here's the voice, and the voice is Spider-Man, and they shoot at him. And, of course, Spider-Man is way too strong, but still, I like that, there's bullets flying around, and, if he isn't careful, he could be shot, right? Spider-Man's inside the barge. How did he get past us? All right. But then, the gunfire is, severing the cable, and they are, caught by a river current, and the barge is starting to adrift. I don't know who tipped you this caper, wall crawler. This caper. But this 2-bit hero is gonna pull out the rug from under me. Goldie, you're awfully ungrateful to somebody who's trying to keep you alive. And Goldbug's duster only partially covered that hood. He'll live. But he realizes that he's not in the mood for listening, Goldbug. My gold gun will turn you into a glittering statue, an elegant perch for the pigeons in the park. Only if it hits me, goggle eyes. Now, I like, you probably maybe not realize it, or Spider-Man makes jokes. But the reason that he's making jokes because he's been in constant danger all the time. And he's also, a younger guy. So he also makes jokes because, insecurity. I can relate. Right? I also make jokes if I'm, insecure. And I'm still at my age can be have some insecurities once upon a while. We are human after all. Anyway, so face it, Goldbug, you're outclassed. No, I always been outclassed. I won't be a loser anymore. You're going to be a dead loser if you don't stand still. What are you doing with my gloves? Taking them off. Uh-oh. Spider-Man says, to prove a point to your would-be partners in crime. Get around, guys. Shoot me if you want to, but the more the time you waste, the slimmer are your chances of getting cured. Cured? What in the blazes is the wall crawling talking about, Goldbug? I don't know. Gundrub, you dumber than I thought. The gold was you stole from the college science was radioactive, part of an experiment in progress. You touched it, Goldberg. So did your friends. Look at your hands. Burned blisters. Running sores. I've been poisoned by gold. And you brought it here to us. You poison us, you crummy. Kill him. No, you won't get me. I'll fight my way out. Get to a hospital. And Spider-Man warns him, but it's too late. Spider-Man can duck aside, but Goldberg, he's not that fortunate. Spider-Man dies after him. No signs of him. His costume looked like real gold foil. He must weigh a ton. He didn't have a chance. Came here to save him. I never got a chance to those dirty, rotten killers. But then the Harbor Patrol comes in, and he says, "Where's the web spinner?" Oh, Goldberg. I wonder if they made it. Out of sight, the amazing Spider-Man cleaves through the murky river, his body numbed by the frigid waters and his mind numbed by the night's aborted success and failures. The end. What a great book, right? And what an end. Like I said before, the 80s and 90s was way darker when it comes to stories, right? I mean, when was the last time that somebody's getting shooting and turned into Swiss cheese and also being drowned at the same time in this dark, cold river? Yeah, let that sink in. No pun intended. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this book. I think it's fantastic. More is coming, more one-shots, more weird people, weird villains that you probably never heard before. Stick around and stay tuned. See you later. Bye-bye.